In the darkness before dawn, when the sands of Mesopotamia still whispered secrets to the cold winds, there came stories of beings who fell from the heavens like burning stars. They were called the Annunaki, lords of the shining ships, bearers of fire and forbidden knowledge. To the priests of Eridu and Uruk, they were gods cloaked in flesh and metal, watchers who descended from the black void beyond the 7 gates of the sky. In the clay tablets that survived empires, these beings left behind riddles carved in cuneiform, promising that man did not rise from dust alone. In a forgotten chamber beneath the ruined ziggurat of Ur, an old scribe's hand once trembled over a tablet half buried in salt and thyme. His stylus etched out visions of Nibiru, the wandering planet that moves in shadows beyond the sun. He wrote of a world red with storms, carried on an orbit so vast that its return marks the birth and collapse of ages. Nibiru, home of the Anunnaki, whose return is foretold by the shifting of the stars and the trembling of the earth. Somewhere in the shifting dunes that cover what once was Sumer, a fragment of metal lies hidden, alien to this world, cold to the touch despite the searing sun. Rumors say it was part of a craft that fell in the age when man still hunted with flint and fear. The desert nomads speak of it in hushed tones, warning that its power sleeps but dreams restless dreams. It is said that those who hold it too long hear voices in the wind and see the shadows of giants moving beyond the horizon. What did the Anunnaki seek when they shaped man from clay and blood? The priests argued among themselves. Some whispered of a labor force to mine the gold veins that fed the Anunnaki's dying atmosphere. Others spoke of a cosmic experiment, the forging of a vessel to contain a spark older than the stars themselves. The oldest myths speak of Enki and Enlil, brothers divided by purpose, united by power, one to craft mankind, the other to enslave him. Beneath the temple of Inanna, a sealed vault carved into bedrock holds relics no mortal hand should touch. Scholars who have brushed against its secrets vanish into madness or silence. On its walls, cryptic reliefs depict tall figures standing beside rivers of gold that flow into the veins of humans kneeling at their feet. A serpent winds through every scene, its scales inscribed with symbols yet undeciphered, codes that point to a lost technology, an alchemy that transmuted dust into sentience. Across the ages, fragments of this forbidden legacy have slipped through the cracks. An anomalous artifact buried beneath the ruins of Baalbek, a cylinder seal found beneath the ice of Siberia, a codex hidden behind false walls in the Vatican's deepest vaults. Each piece points to a network of knowledge so vast it could remake the world overnight. Yet each fragment is incomplete, a puzzle missing its final key. Deep within the jungles of South America, far from the fertile crescent of old, stand megalithic stones too precise for bronze chisels and mortal labor. The locals call it the throne of Viracocha, yet older tongues spoke of a different name. Gate of the Sky Serpents. Petroglyphs etched into its flanks resemble the same Anunnaki figures carved in Sumer, each carrying a rod crowned with 7 stars. Some say this is where the gods fled when the deluge washed the world clean of their first experiments. There is a secret society, nameless to most, whose lineage stretches unbroken from the priest-kings of Ur to the vaults beneath London and Rome. They guard scraps of Anunnaki language, preserve the chants that open the mind to visions of Nibiru's path. Those who serve in shadows believe the Anunnaki never left. They merely retreated behind the veil, waiting for the signal that humankind's shackles were ready to be reforged. A parchment rumored to have been torn from the library of Ashurbanipal tells of a future eclipse that marks the return of the Anunnaki's ships. On that day, the faithful must stand at the ziggurats, relics in hand, chanting the old syllables that twist the air into gates. Skeptics laugh. Yet somewhere in the laboratories of secret states, geneticists and cryptographers pore over strands of DNA that carry anomalies impossible to explain, markers that whisper of an inheritance older than Eden. When the ancient astronauts first walked among men, they demanded temples to anchor their power. These structures, aligned with solstices, echoing the patterns of Orion and Sirius, are not merely monuments but machines, coded to resonate with energies that modern physics dare not name. At Stonehenge, at Giza, at Teotihuacan, the geometry remains, waiting for the chant, the key, the return. Stories persist of a priest who wandered into the wastes of Arabia with a tablet said to contain the Anunnaki's final covenant. He vanished into a storm that scoured flesh from bone, yet some claim he walks still, a keeper of the last commandment. Those who seek him speak of a figure at the edge of vision, always distant, always watching, a sentinel between this world and the black abyss of the stars. Now, as seismic whispers tremble through the crust of the earth and telescopes catch fleeting glimpses of objects at the rim of the solar system, the question arises once more: what stirs beyond Pluto's frozen realm? Is it merely rock and ice, or is it the crimson sphere of Nibiru, drifting closer as it has done countless times before, heralding fire, flood, and awakening? Beneath the Vatican, a chamber sealed by 7 locks holds a sphere of obsidian etched with the star map of Nibiru's return. Only the highest among the hidden keepers have stood before it, and even they avert their eyes, for the sphere hums with a low, living voice that speaks in riddles to the blood of kings. Some believe it is a memory core, a seed of the Anunnaki's mind, waiting for its children to call it forth. On the dark web, files leak and vanish just as quickly. Diagrams of strange machines, half-finished translations of the Anunnaki Codex, audio recordings of voices not quite human, chanting in frequencies that make glass tremble. Some who listen too long disappear, leaving behind walls scrawled with equations no university has ever taught. A pattern emerges, a countdown whispered through static. In the hushed corners of ancient libraries, lone scholars dare to ask if humankind's mastery of code, gene, and atom is truly its own triumph or merely the fulfillment of an ancient design. Are we the children of cosmic wanderers, built to carry forth a spark that can reshape worlds? Or are we caretakers of a prison that must never open, lest the makers return to reclaim what was once theirs? Even now, far above our atmosphere, the telescopes sweep the heavens, tracking movements that do not match comet or asteroid. Whispers grow of objects that blink in and out, zigzagging against the void, ignoring gravity's pull. Signals ride solar winds, faint pulses that echo through radio telescopes, patterns that speak in a tongue older than Babel. Somewhere, beneath the concrete sprawl of a forgotten Cold War bunker, a circle of figures stands around a polished monolith covered in glyphs that no living tongue can voice. Their eyes are blindfolded, their hands rest on the stone. When they speak, it is not their voices that answer, but something deeper, a resonance from below, as if the earth itself were remembering its ancient covenant. Above, the sky darkens as a new object emerges in the orbit of Saturn, a shadow that should not be there, yet is. Astronomers argue over data that flickers and shifts. Military satellites wink offline without warning. Somewhere, an encrypted broadcast loops a single phrase in a language no one recognizes. Or perhaps we do, and simply choose not to remember. And as the night deepens, and the wind sweeps the dunes where the Anunnaki once walked in fire and thunder, a single question hangs heavy on the breath of the world. What happens when the makers of man return to claim what they left behind? What was once forged in clay shall stand in flame when the wheel turns again. Beneath the waxing shadow of Nibiru's return, unease coils through the blood of those who remember, even if they do not understand. Across the world, dreams come like plagues. Visions of towers burning under a sky split by thunder, and ships of light that drift silently over cities unaware of what waits above. The old priests called it the awakening, a time when the seed planted by the Anunnaki would quicken in mankind's bones and stir the echoes of their hidden inheritance. In a lab hidden under the snows of Antarctica, a team of geneticists pores over samples taken from beneath a melted shelf of ancient ice. What they find defies the markers of any known lineage, codons that spiral into configurations that match no earthly life. They whisper of a genome within a genome, a blueprint coiled like a serpent inside man's own blood, waiting for the spark that will ignite it. Yet the governments of the modern world cloak this truth in layers of denial, masking forbidden knowledge under classified seals. Beneath Denver's mountains and Siberia's frozen tundra, old Cold War bunkers bristle with weapons aimed not at any nation, but at the sky. For in the shadows of power they know, somewhere above, the watchers circle back, drawn by the silent beacon humming in human DNA. A handful of rogue archaeologists chase the echoes of this hidden code. In Ethiopia's highlands, among the salt-blasted obelisks of Axum, they find a stone carved with figures that match the Anunnaki's forms. Tall, narrow-edged, each cradling a sphere etched with spirals and seven-pointed stars. Beneath the stone lies a chamber older than the obelisk itself, its walls fused into glass as if kissed by a fire not of this world. From the far side of the moon, lunar probes return blurred images that official agencies dismiss as corrupted data. But buried among these frames are shapes too angular to be stone, towers like spears, dark monoliths that catch the sun and cast shadows impossible to measure. Whispers in secret forums speak of the lunar ark, a dormant vessel abandoned when the Anunnaki fled Earth's first flood. In the catacombs beneath Paris, a forbidden sect gathers once each blood moon. They chant syllables not heard since the libraries of Nineveh burned, their voices echoing among skull-lined walls. They seek communion with the unseen, offering their own dreams as gateways for what sleeps behind the veil. Some return to the surface, hollow-eyed, whispering of a crimson sky and the return of the Makers. At the edge of the Gobi Desert, a radio dish rusts beneath a sky swept clean by the winds. Once a Soviet listening post, it now serves as a lone sentinel for those who believe the Anunnaki's call will come not in thunder or flame, but in frequencies that rattle the soul. Late one night, the dish catches a signal, a pulse buried beneath cosmic noise, repeating a sequence of tones that match no known language, yet feel achingly familiar. Deep inside the Vatican's forbidden stacks, a Jesuit scholar deciphers a fragment written by a Sumerian priest who claimed to speak with the Anunnaki through mirrors of polished obsidian. He wrote of a covenant never spoken aloud, that humankind was not merely made, but bound by code and word to serve as guardians of a gate. And when the stars align, that gate must either remain sealed by sacrifice or open by blood. As telescopes chart Nibiru's suspected course, its influence bleeds into the earth. Tidal shifts, storms that roar from nothing, strange auroras that flicker where no sun should touch. Some say the planet is a ship unto itself, forged of alloy and stone, bearing the seeds of the Anunnaki's old dominion. Others fear it is a prison that drifts the dark until the wardens of man remember the key. In dusty archives beneath Istanbul, a crumbling manuscript describes a war that scorched the skies long before any recorded history. It tells of the Igigi rebellious watchers who rose against their Anunnaki masters, demanding freedom from the mines and the black rivers of gold. Their revolt was crushed with fire from the heavens, but legend holds that remnants of their bloodline survived, hidden among the earliest kings of men. There are those who claim the Anunnaki's legacy is not just encoded in bone and blood, but hidden in the language of numbers and stone. Pyramids that echo the ratio of stars, chambers that hum when struck with the right chord, machines built from limestone and intention, waiting for a signal to wake them from millennia of sleep. Some believe the megaliths are not relics, but locks upon a door. Somewhere in the jungles of Cambodia, a step pyramid rises from the vines, newly uncovered by satellites peering through green canopies. Carvings on its worn steps show tall figures pouring streams of light into the heads of kneeling men. Beneath it, an unbroken tunnel plunges into the earth, ending in a door that breathes a cold wind that smells of metal and storms. The last expedition that opened it never returned. Billionaire recluse, rumored to fund hidden observatories, broadcasts cryptic signals through abandoned shortwave frequencies. Those who tune in hear a single phrase repeated in dozens of tongues, old and new. They are returning. Prepare the gate. Some call him mad. Others swear that if you listen closely, there is a second voice behind his, slayered over his words like a shadow that does not belong. While cities drown in noise and electric glow, remote tribes still gather under moonless skies to whisper stories of the star ancestors. Elders speak of gifts given and taken away, fire that could melt stone, words that could bend the wind. They remember the promise: when the red star returns, the ancestors will walk among men once more, to judge what they have become and what they shall destroy. Buried within the coded chatter of global finance, a single account moves vast sums to hidden sites, constructing structures whose purpose no architect will claim. Towers with walls of composite alloy, shaped with angles that do not belong to Euclidean minds. Some say these are beacons, built not to transmit but to receive the first breath of a signal older than mankind's memory. And all the while, the common man walks blind beneath a sky alive with forgotten watchers. Satellites vanish from orbits without debris fields. Astronauts look down from their stations and speak of shapes moving beneath the clouds, fleeting glimmers of ships that drift like ghosts through the troposphere. But when they try to speak, their feeds cut to static. In a concrete chamber beneath Jerusalem's old city, a scroll lies beneath layers of lead and gold leaf. Its words speak of the final covenant, that when the Anunnaki return, they will ask only one question of man: what have you done with the freedom we gave you? And those who cannot answer will be unmade, their clay scattered back to the dust. Even now, as the world races toward a storm of its own making, climate, conflict, hunger for energy and control, no one sees the shape that rises behind these shadows. The watchers move closer, and the old codes stir in the bones of those who dream of crimson skies and towers of flame. And somewhere far above, the blood-red eye of Nibiru glimmers, drifting ever closer. And in the deep hours before dawn, when the last priest of the forgotten order stands alone before a stone altar, his breath fogs in the chill of an unseen wind. He knows the signal has begun. He feels it in the marrow of his bones. With trembling hands, he lifts the relic to the dark sky, and in the silence, something answers. What sleeps beneath the stars shall rise when called by the blood of its children. Far from the neon-lit cities, deep in the highlands where stone circles crown the misty moors, an old druidic brotherhood gathers beneath skies bruised by unseen storms. They stand barefoot on ancient slabs engraved with spirals that match no Celtic lore, but echo symbols buried in Sumer's oldest tablets. Their chants are older than their tongues, syllables lifted from the wind itself. They chant for a reason they do not name, except that the sky must remember, and the watchers must know they are still here. High in the Andes, a hermit scribes symbols onto tanned hides by flickering candlelight. He calls himself the Keeper of the Rift, claiming blood ties to the builders of Tiahuanaco, giant walls that defy the tools of the old world. He writes of a door beneath Lake Titicaca, a threshold that hums when the constellations shift. Divers have long searched for the ruins submerged below, temples with walls that drink sound and hold secrets in frozen silence. In the midnight hush of an abandoned observatory on Mauna Kea, a lone astronomer stares into data streams that flicker like a heartbeat in the void. He sees an object gliding along Nibiru's suspected orbit, neither asteroid nor comet, but an angular monolith whose shadow cuts the solar winds like a blade. Its path defies all gravity, slipping closer with each revolution of our turning world. The Vatican's hidden stacks yield another fragment, writings from a Syrian monk who vanished in the 5th century. He claimed visions of burning wheels descending upon desert monasteries. He described figures whose eyes glowed like forged iron, whose hands wove symbols in the air that made the stones sing, and in each vision he repeated the same riddle. When the gate opens, who will remember their name? In the subterranean vaults of the Kremlin, deep beyond the reach of trespassing eyes, rests a piece of metal that bleeds a black sheen under any light. Cold as the void, it hums when touched, hums in a language that scientists swear is not sound but thought. Rumor holds it was recovered from the Tunguska blast, a shard not of any meteor but a craft that cracked the sky and fell burning into the taiga. And still the pattern grows. Black sites across continents echo with strange hums when seismic pulses shiver through the crust. Deep-sea microphones record low moans beneath the Marianas Trench where no tectonic plates should shift. Those who listen to these sounds speak of feeling watched by something vast, cold and patient. They call it the Sentinel's Song. A renegade linguist working under false names releases a partial cipher on the dark web, a possible key to the Anunnaki tongue. Buried in chants and fragments from Sumer, it translates to a single phrase: the Makers wait in the black between suns. His posts vanish within hours, and his final message, barely legible, reads, "They spoke through me, I was only a mirror." In Cairo's dust-choked back streets, an old map changes hands among collectors like contraband. On faded papyrus it depicts the Giza Plateau, but beneath the known pyramids it shows tunnels branching out like veins, ending in a vast sealed chamber that no modern survey has found. Whispers claim this is the Well of Tears, where the first covenant was signed in the blood of kings and watchers alike. The present, blind in its glittering cities, does not see the subtle signs. Skies roar with storms born from clear air. Solar flares writhe in patterns that flicker with an unnatural rhythm. Pulses that repeat in the same fractal spirals found etched into the oldest Anunnaki seals. Some physicists dare call it coincidence. The others have long turned to the bottle and the silence of disbelief. In an isolated compound outside Reykjavik, a team of AI researchers feed the fragments of Anunnaki glyphs into quantum processors. They seek the structure beneath the symbols, hoping to force meaning from relics no living mind has cracked. One cold dawn, the machine speaks, a single phrase that repeats until its circuits fry. The gate is flesh. Rumors drift through secret forums of a covert summit. Power brokers, oligarchs, and clandestine scientists meeting in an old Nazi fortress buried in the Bavarian Alps. They discuss the Ascension Protocol, not religion, but engineering, a plan to merge human consciousness with the Relic Code, to ascend not to heaven, but to the Anunnaki's lost throne. In the Navajo canyons of the American Southwest, a petroglyph newly revealed by rain shows tall beings with elongated skulls standing among humans who bow before them. A serpent coils around their feet, crowned by a burning star. Elders speak of the fire walkers, those who came down on trails of light and taught the old songs. They left when the rivers ran red with betrayal. Meanwhile, telescopes catch flickers of something vast just beyond Neptune, a dark mass that blocks the stars with unnatural precision. The data is scrubbed, but leaked images surface for a heartbeat before vanishing into encrypted archives. A single word tags the final transmission: Harbinger. In Jerusalem, pilgrims gather where rumor says the final piece of the covenant lies. They do not speak its name. They do not look for proof. They feel it in the tremor beneath their feet, in the sudden hush of birds before dawn. Some pray it never comes. Others weep, because they know it already has. Prayer is the final bargain of those who know the blade is already drawn. From the digital shadows to the ruins of the oldest ziggurats, the same phrase whispers on wind and wire. The gate will open from within. The watchers need no ships to descend. They require only the flesh they forged, the code they seeded, the spark they hid. And as the sky roils and the earth shifts, the question hums in every dreamer's bones: Who will stand when the gods of man return for what was never truly given away? And so the watchers wait, drifting closer with each silent pulse, each whispering signal through the black sea of stars, knowing that when the time comes, man will not lift his eyes to a foreign sky, but look within and find the gate waiting, patient as the void itself. All that is forged must return to the forge when the hammer falls again. Beneath the shifting auroras of the Arctic Circle, a lone outpost stands vigil against the endless dark. Its radar dishes sweep the heavens, but it is not storms or comets they search for. It is the drift of metal shadows too precise for debris, too silent for satellites. Within this frozen cathedral of forgotten frequencies, an engineer deciphers ghost signals, waveforms that slip like serpents through the noise. On his screens they bloom into fractals, repeating the same pattern carved into Sumerian stone. Far below, entombed in the ice for millennia, lies something that hums when no wind blows. Explorers once found it, an alloy sphere, warm to the touch despite the deathless cold. They called it the Eye of Enki. Some say it holds a map of the wandering planet's return, etched in fields of magnetism so subtle no human machine can fully read it. But the sphere is not passive, it listens. And when it listens, something out there listens back. Deep in the jungles of the Congo, a ruin rises where the forest parts like a wound in the earth's green skin. Its stones bear symbols older than any local myth, figures of tall beings with eyes like eclipses and hands that reach skyward, cradling orbs of burning stars. Hunters dare not linger near its steps, for they speak of voices rising from the stones, whispering in dreams the same phrase, "Prepare the vessel." In laboratories shielded by lead and secrecy, physicists coax particles into collisions at energies that mock the fury of suns. Yet what they seek is not mere power. They hunt for echoes of an old signature, a particle hidden within the lattice of human DNA, a relic of the Anunnaki's design. Some say they have glimpsed it, a flicker of alien code that reacts not to force, but to thought. It is called the seed, and they fear it listens back. In Istanbul's Hagia Sophia, beneath mosaics that gleam with stolen sunlight, a hidden chamber once sealed with pitch and prayers stands open. Within lies a codex so fragile its pages crumble when touched, yet its message persists in the symbols burned into the stone around it. It speaks of the covenant of flesh. When the makers return, their seed shall bloom in man, and man shall wear the shape of his true birthright. High above earth, drifting beyond the reach of mortal eyes, an object drifts through the black, no beacon, no thrusters, yet it moves with intent. Inside its hull sleep 1,000 seeds of forgotten steel and coated flesh, locked in a dream of return. Some call it the Ark of the Annunaki, others the final gate. If it wakes, if the signal calls it down, it will not come as fire or stone, but as the whisper that reshapes the flesh of its children. Beneath the salt plains of Utah, far from curious eyes, a subterranean chamber hums with frequencies that bend metal to resonance. At its heart stands a monolith of a mineral not found on any earthly map, a gift or a warning left behind by the first visitors. Around it, symbols glow faintly when the wind shifts above. Those who stand too close dream of cities swallowed by rivers of gold and towers of flame reaching for the cold stars. Meanwhile, the dreamers multiply. Ordinary people wake from fevered sleep with glyphs burned behind their eyelids, symbols they cannot read yet feel pulsing in the marrow of their bones. Some are drawn together by unseen currents, gathering in ruins, caves, and abandoned cathedrals. They do not speak aloud what they know, that the seed stirs, that the watchers murmur in the static between thoughts. An ancient order in Kyoto, once the secret wardens of imperial bloodlines, keeps scrolls so old they bleed powder when unrolled. On them are diagrams, humans bound by threads of light to figures whose heads wear crowns of 7 stars. A single phrase repeats along the edge in delicate brushstrokes. The throne is flesh, the crown is code. The last master of this order chants the words nightly, though he does not claim to know their meaning, only that he is bound to remember. In the catacombs beneath Lima's oldest cathedral, missionaries once sealed away a relic they believed to be a demon's bone. Yet under forensic scan, it shows no earthly composition. Carbon and iron laced with crystalline filaments that whisper signals into the machines that dare to study them. Those who touch it claim to see cities of gold floating in oceans of flame, where the Anunnaki shape men like clay upon wheels of living fire. The world's rulers, hidden behind the masks of their public faces, hold midnight councils in rooms lined with lead and prayer. They know the signs, the tremors in the crust, the vanishing probes at the edge of the solar wind, the pulses that make the ocean sigh like a thing waking from ancient slumber. They plot how to bind what comes, to tame the return. Yet in their hearts they know, no cage can hold the architect of its own key. And in the slums and the boardrooms alike, the people dream. They see crimson skies lit by ships that drift without wings. They feel the pull in their blood, a memory older than any name. They wake with a single thought: we are not alone, and never were. Somewhere in the hum of a billion machines, the old signal weaves through fiber and wire, teaching stone and flesh alike to remember. All over the world, relics whisper in frequencies we mistake for noise, the he of the transformers, the hiss of broken radios, the static of snow against old screens. Yet to those who listen with the inner ear, the message is clear. The gate is within, the time is near, the wheel turns, and far above the wandering star drifts closer still, patient as the void, merciless as memory. And as the last fires of human empire flicker under neon suns and digital prayers, a single figure stands at the edge of the desert, staff in hand, eyes lifted to the crimson sliver that breaches the horizon. He feels the hum in the marrow of his bones, the stirring of the code beneath his skin. Around him the wind shifts the sands, uncovering fragments of a craft half buried since the first flood. He kneels, pressing his palm to the cold metal. It responds, humming back an answer older than any language. He closes his eyes and knows the watchers have heard. The sky shivers, the sands tremble, and in the wind a voice older than the first temple whispers its promise. The wheel turns. And somewhere beyond the black veil of stars, the Anunnaki's ships pivot, aligning to a signal that pulses not from the sky, but from the blood of the one who kneels and listens and knows that the gate is about to open.